Oi, você está no comercial de PC Game Pass. Quer novos jogos no primeiro dia? Ótimo, nós temos. Escuderizo legal. Próximo. Que tal uma nova carreira com EA Play? Waves que go! Isso é que é festa da firma! Quer desbloquear todos os campeões de League of Legends? Benefícios Riot. Nós temos. Boa sorte! Tenha tudo isso e muito mais com PC Game Pass.
Toda boa história tem um fundo de verdade. E eu sei de uma que você não conhece. Dr. Jones, eu gostaria que ficássemos em paz.
Vá em frente. Vou arrancar seus dentes.
Então, Indy, o que te traz ao Vaticano?
Estou procurando alguém. Ele roubou algo meu e eu quero saber o motivo.
Agora estou investigando o desaparecimento de alguém muito importante para mim. Seu amigo Emerick Voss é o responsável.
E esse grande círculo? Acham que é um conduíte para algum tipo de poder?
O Voss pensa. E acha mesmo que vai fazer história com ele. Vou precisar examinar isso melhor. O círculo deve estar completo para o quê? Sempre tem um gatilho.
Jones!
Boa sorte, Indy.
A lenda diz que essas relíquias têm um grande poder. Um poder que pode mudar o curso da história. Você está mexendo com poderes além do seu controle.
Já devia saber. Eu sempre estou no controle.
Você é bom nisso, Dr. Jones.
Só bastante para me encrencar.
Gina!
Você não quer saber o que tem por trás disso?
Quero sim, com certeza.
Salve galera, diretamente da CCXP 2024, estamos aqui com o Jens, que a gente vai conversar sobre o novo jogo da Bethesda, ele que é um dos desenvolvedores por trás de Indiana Jones, o Grande Círculo.
So Jens, since everybody in the studio loves the Indiana Jones movie so much, I would like to know what were the biggest challenges in capturing the feeling of an Indiana Jones movie into the video game?
That is a great question, and there is no easy answer. You know, you want it all. You want the story, you want the humor, you want the charm, like, you know, the Harrison Ford Indiana Jones. You want to see that on screen. But for us as well, we want the player to feel like they are Indiana Jones, and we want them to experience what it is to be Indiana Jones. So that was the whole idea from what the game is. Like, how do we make you choose to use the whip in combat? How do we make that fun and interesting and not just go guns blazing? Like, that's not what indie would do. So how do we get the player to do that? So try and recreate all these things that happens in the movie, but make them from the player's perspective.
Yeah, that's amazing, like the thrill of running from a gigantic rock and just trying to save ourselves, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's so cool.
What about the character itself? Indiana Jones is so iconic, and there was also a great deal of work to make him as faithful as possible to films.
Yeah, a lot of work has gone in there. We wanted to recreate, Indiana Jones from the, Raiders of the Lost Ark. At that point in time, we wanted him to look like that, sound like that. So recreating that, we can't 3D scan Harrison Ford in his youth, right? So we had to work off all the reference photos that Lucasfilm Games can provide us and do all those things. But it's about recreating the feeling of that as well, like how, the film grain filter we have on screen, about, just the small smirk that he has, how to get that. And this is where Troy Baker came in. He absolutely crushed when he got to audition for the role. He came in there and super prepared and pulled off being Indiana Jones, completely outclassing the competition. And he's been fantastic to work with. Getting him to sound like Indiana Jones, that's no easy feat. But getting him to as well behaving as Indiana Jones, pointing like this or how he moves, all that stuff has been fantastic.
The game promises to have a lot of action scenes and items you can pick up and use as weapons, but no one is more iconic than the whip. And it's more of a tool actually, since it can be used for combat and to move around. What were the challenges in making his whip such an important part of the game?
Yeah, that's something we've been working on a lot. It's so iconic. We knew from the start the whip needs to be front and center in terms of gameplay. So we had to ask ourselves, how do we integrate it in every different aspect of the game design? From combat, you can use it to pull people in to clinch, and so you can punch them. So it kind of integrates with a hand-to-hand combat mechanics, or through traversals where you can use it to scale walls. So we wanted to, it feeds off each other, right? You come up with gameplay features that you can use the whip with, and then you build scenarios and levels around that, all the way down to puzzles, for example, using the whip to solve puzzles. So it's about finding as much use as you can, and then trying to pull that off, which is hard. Especially in first person, you see it so close. So fantastic work by our programmers, our engineers of doing the physical simulations of the whip, but as well that's not enough, because you need to control it as well from gameplay. So our animators come in to animate the whip and sort of blending in between. But there's more, there's the texture of it. Our art is just making it feel real, and the sound. We actually went to visit the Swedish bullwhip champion just to record the sound. He was great, and he showed us how to effectively use the whip, and we were there and recorded hundreds of variations of the sound, so we could use that in the game.
Different whips, right?
No, there's one whip throughout the game, yes.
Okay.
There is one as a pre-order bonus. It's a slightly different one.
Amazing. So many layers, right?
Yeah.
So many things that you have to fit in together, but I'm sure it will be amazing. An often overlooked aspect of adventure games inspired by Indiana Jones is the history and mystery. There are obviously adventurers in video games who know historical references, but the games themselves often focus a lot more on action. That doesn't seem to be the case here, since we have been shown a lot of moments where you have to solve puzzles. Was that a way to make this indie game different from its peers?
I guess yes. In some ways, if puzzles are important. You watch the movies, they have cool puzzles. We wanted to do that, but it's hard, right? In big blockbuster style games, we don't see too many complicated puzzles because it's hard to make them work so the player doesn't get stuck. So we try to work with that as much as we can. So we wanted to have challenging puzzles, but we also wanted to give the players a way to not get stuck, and that's why we built this kind of robust hint system using the camera. So we have a lot of puzzles in the game. They are kind of hard, but you can use the camera and snap photos of the puzzle if you need help. There's also a lot of optional puzzles, small mysteries scattered around the world, where you can just stumble upon things. So we really want to build this world where there are mysteries around every corner, and for you to explore, because that feels like Indiana Jones to me.
I love puzzles. It's one of my favorite parts of the game, specifically when we have an adventure. So that balance in between the adventure and the fight and the running and also like the puzzles, it's amazing. Like it's one of my favorite kind of like couple that can go together on a game.
Yeah, me too.
Incredible.
There is another game in your career that is also tied to a movie character in Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay. I say right?
Yes.
Yeah?
Good enough.
Yeah. A little bit. How will you compare these two development experience, if there is any comparison to it?
It was 20 years ago. It was a long time ago, but I think the way we approach how you make video games is kind of the same. Like starting with a story, approaching it from the character's point of view. Back then when we did Riddick, it was also about like, we want you to feel like this badass action hero. Today it's about like, we want you to feel like this quirky, charming professor adventurer. So there's a lot of overlap there, and there's a lot of overlap in terms of like, there was hand-to-hand combat system there as well. So there's a lot of things we get the opportunity to revisit and do again. But there's also so much unique stuff that we had to figure out. Like the puzzles is a great example. You know, we've never done puzzles properly before, so that was a new experience. So part old, part new, done by a lot of the same people, so we know each other, we build games that we would like to play.
Well, our time is up.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to talking to you, for the interview. We are really anxious and excited about playing the game. And só lembrando, né, galera, que vai chegar no Day 1, dia 9 agora de dezembro, então não percam, vai ser sensacional.
Seja fã ou não seja fã de Indiana Jones, tá lá, aproveita e joga.
And we appreciate the consideration of visiting Brazil and, you know...
My absolute pleasure, I love it here.
Thank you so much.
Best of luck of launching your game.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Então é isso, galera. Muito obrigado por vocês terem assistido. Não perca a oportunidade de jogar que já tá no Game Pass. Muito obrigado e até os próximos vídeos que estão saindo aí no canal. Valeu!
Bye!
I know who you are and why you are here.
Yeah, the sparks are flying now.
Let's burn this mother down.
Told you, didn't I? They always build some machine or breed some monster that goes crazy. Weapons platform active. Intruders will be terminated. Never trust a scientist. When you piss off a mutant, it breaks out of its cage and people start dying. Intruders! Attack!
Shield generators online. scientific advancement demands sacrifice. I regret nothing.
Este jogo é uma homenagem ao meu amigo Limão. Meu amigo, o que eu tenho pra te contar vai te machucar muito. Mas isso tá longe de ser uma história triste.
O que o humano vivenciou não foi uma visão, foi uma memória.
Aqui são as palavras que têm valor. Não quebre sua promessa. Só irá te trazer infortúnio.
O que acha de se tornar um hiperpoliglota?
Talvez você não esteja pronto pra ouvir, mas tem hora de plantar, hora de colher e hora de morrer.
E aí, galera, a gente tá aqui no stand de Xbox na CCXP 2024 para entrevistar os desenvolvedores de Avowed. Então a gente tem aqui o Ryan e a Carrie. Eu vou começar com a primeira pergunta. So, hello Ryan, so good to have you here. I'd like to know, first of all, what is the relationship between the two games and this new one, since we know that they're set in the same world?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did have two previous games, Pillars of Eternity and then Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire, both of which were set in the world of Aora. However, for the first time ever in Avowed, we're bringing players into a first-person perspective, so you can really get the immersion. There is a third-person perspective for people who can't play in first person for whatever reason, but I really love the immersiveness of being able to see the world from the eyes of the character in Avowed.
Thamas, I know you have some questions too.
So, of course, we expect a lot from the game. So keep in mind the other series. Can you expect the same mechanics, powers, visuals, or are we talking about something never seen or done before?
Players who have been to the world of Aora and Pillars of Eternity will definitely see some of the powers and abilities that they could experience with character classes in those games. The big difference you're going to have with Avowed is that Avowed is a classless game. So when you're starting out, you're building your character, you're going to select a background, but that background is largely narrative. It's going to kind of give you a bit of a starting backstory or some details to your backstory and certain options and dialogue. However, as you build your character, as you level up, you are free to put your points wherever you wish, and you're also free to purchase whatever abilities you wish with your experience. And you can respec partway through as well. So if you want to play a character that feels very much like a traditional fighter or barbarian, you can build that by putting most of your ability points into the the fighter tree. But if you want to build a character that feels like a really interesting blend of maybe magical abilities and kind of like ranged weapon abilities, which is one of my favorite builds, you can put points in the ranger tree and points in the wizard tree and build something really unique. So again, you are going to see some returning abilities, but the way that you can combine them, mix and match between them is new. And there is a certain ability tree that we haven't gone into a lot of detail yet that is going to be brand new for Avowed, and I can't wait for players to see that when the game goes live in February.
Oh my god, that's amazing. We know that usually RPGs are very versatile, so I'm already seeing a lot about the game and wanting to know more and more, but in the RPGs, I know that since we have a lot of choices, we would like to know, instead of fighting the great threat of Avowed, if we could join the plague and become the villains.
So there'd be spoilers there. But Obsidian's motto is your world's your way. And that's something that we've really taken to heart when developing Avowed. And so there are multiple different playthroughs. There are choices that you can make both big and small that'll affect characters on a very personal level. They'll affect regions on sort of a by-region level. And to get to the heart of your question, there are choices that you're going to be able to make that will impact the game on a game level, especially as those choices start to stack up over the course of the game. So I'm not going to get into spoiler territory, but I think that there is going to be some good satisfactory moments for players over the course of the entirety of the game.
Amazing. So we talk about many people waiting for play the game. So probably after this interview, we will more anxious to play. So have you have plans to about the long-term support?
So I think one thing Obsidian has always been great about as a studio is making sure that our games are supported, that our forums remain active, and that we patch issues as they come up so that players can have a good experience long after launch. We know that RPGs in particular have a very long tail, and so you'll have people enjoying these games years after their release. So that support and stability is very important to us. But we're definitely focused right now on the core game of Avowed, on getting that finished and ready to release.
And Ryan, many Brazilians have said that Avowed has some similarities with Skyrim, which is a good thing because we know that Skyrim is a game well loved from the community. And we would like to know if officially the game has any references to Skyrim or not.
So officially, we're making our own universe on this one, and I think that that's not going to be a disappointment for players in the slightest, because there is so much to enjoy about the world of Aora. We've really highlighted exploration over the course of this game, and so there are so many nooks and crannies where you can find not just pieces of loot or upgrade materials to make yourself more powerful, but really awesome little moments of environmental storytelling and of little vignettes where you can see. One of my favorites is early on in the game you find an aspiring wizard who is maybe not so practiced at his craft, and things go unfortunately wrong for him, and you get to sort of piece together those details and find out what happened. And that's just one of several moments throughout a single region, let alone throughout the entirety of the game. And so I think I'm really excited about players getting their hands on Avowed over the course of the next couple of months here, and really discovering what there is in the world of Aora and how they can make that their own story.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And up to you, Thamas.
Yeah, without spoilers or with spoilers, you decide.
Up to you, up to you.
Yeah. What can you tell us about Avowed story?
So, in Avowed, you are sent as the envoy of the Empire of Adir. So, you are representing one of the large and powerful nations of the world of Aora, and you are sent all the way to this distant frontier island called the Living Lands, which is inhabited by various factions and settlements and peoples from all over the world. Many of them who have come there and built their own settlements in order to escape large powers like the one that you come representing. So your mission really is to discover the source of the Dream Scourge and put a stop to it, but your journey as a character is also very much about deciding where your loyalties lie and what kind of future you're going to help build. So what I can say is there are going to be a lot of, I think, very interesting and nuanced choices for the player to make, grounded in a lot of characters, a lot of very complicated factions and situations, and I cannot wait to see how players decide to navigate those as they build their own stories.
It's always nice to take a look at the new paths and the choices from people, right? That's one of the great things about watching live streams, etc., because we can kind of expect from different outcomes,
different experience.
Yeah. So how does Avowed stand out in an already consolidated genre? What do you think the game brings that is innovative or unique to the world of RPGs?
Great question. Great question. Yeah, and I'm even going to tie that back to what you were just talking about, where it's you get to see online, people are streaming, and you get to see what their particular choices are. And I think one of the things that really stands out about Avowed is its classless combat system. So when you're in Character Creator, for example, we don't have like a barbarian build for you to jump into or a wizard build for you to jump into. You are entirely open to make whatever build you want in the game. So if you want to start out as a barbarian with a sword and a shield, no problem, you can do that. If you want to start out as a wizard with maybe a magic wand, you can do that. And if you decide, even minutes into gameplay, you know what, I want to try something different, No problem. Just pick up a different weapon, and then you can start to make a different build. You can respec for a nominal amount of in-game currency to try out different skill trees. But one of the things that I'm most excited about is to see the different player builds that players just sort of conceive for this. Earlier on this year, one of our QA testers suggested a blood mage build. That's not something that's present as a pre-made, like canned build in the game. He just cobbled that together from all of the trinkets that were in the game, such that he could always be casting as a mage. And when he ran out of mana, or essence rather, to keep casting, then he was able to draw against his own health for a blood mage build, so that he could keep slinging spells. And so that's just one thing that one person happened to discover. I'm really stoked to see what other people come up with, and what are the other builds that are waiting out there for players to find.
That's so incredible. You started talking and I was like, oh, I'm always the one that is very confused about how to distribute my points. And usually people tell me like, go to a website and read some guidelines, whatever. And I'm like, no, I want to play. And then I start just like putting my points and experiences everywhere. And then I'm super confused. And it's good to know that maybe I could just find out something new. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll just create a new type of class, RPG class.
So, Brazilian gamers have a huge affection for Obsidian, mainly because Grounded. So, which is an incredible fun game. Do you have any message you'd like to leave for these fans?
A gente ama a comunidade brasileira e é prazer muito grande estar aqui para compartilhar Avowed com vocês. Muito obrigada.
Oh my god! Yay!
Incredible! It's the first time here in Brazil?
Yes.
Right?
Okay. Oh my god!
And you like to say some after this message?
He's shy. No, he's shy.
You can say in English.
So that is a tough act to follow, particularly because I don't speak Brazilian
Say
Portuguese.
obrigado,
as well
Brasil.
As, obrigado, Brasil.
When you say anything in Portuguese, we're just like, oh my god, we love you so much. At least I think it's super
If you just say the city, the right city, or obrigado, Brasil, no problem, you win our heart.
Thank you for the consideration. We appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you.
It was a great talk. And, galera, espero que vocês tenham gostado desse bate-papo. A gente tá aqui fazendo conteúdo constantemente na CXP 2024 e vai ter mais coisinha por aí. Então, fiquem ligados e um beijo.
We have always known war. It forged our empire, turned heroes into queens and kings, and decimated our foes. Now our oaths are lost, forsaken. And you must face the monsters our sins have borne. Is an oath worth the weight of a crown?
Seguindo essa premissa de que isso tudo aqui é um Xbox na CCXP 2024, a gente vai mostrar pra vocês todos os dispositivos em que você pode jogar.
Afinal, jogar Xbox com Xbox é meio óbvio, mas a gente vai mostrar 4 opções diferentes que você consegue jogar os jogos da Xbox.
Uma das opções que a gente tem aqui é o PC portátil. E eu vou conversar com a galera que tá jogando por aqui. Licença, qual é o seu nome?
Beto.
E o que você tá jogando aí, Beto?
Eu tô jogando Forza.
E como que tá sendo essa experiência de jogar num PC portátil?
Tá sendo muito melhor do que eu imaginei, na realidade. O PC ele é muito mais potente. do que eu pensei que ele seria. Roda liso, parece que eu tô num computador normal.
Não, e a tela também, né? O gráfico mó bonitão, a música também dá pra perceber que a caixinha traz toda a qualidade de som. É muito legal você poder jogar Game Pass e os jogos de Xbox em todos os lugares, né?
Com certeza, o Game Pass facilita tudo.
Pessoalmente, uma das coisas que eu acho mais legal é a possibilidade do Game Pass de você jogar os games no seu celular. E aqui no stand da CCXP, a gente vai conversar com a galerinha que tá experimentando essa experiência. Licença, pessoal! Tudo bem? Vocês estão aqui experimentando o telefone? Então vem aqui do meu ladinho. Vamos conversar um pouquinho. Qual o seu nome?
Pedro.
E qual o seu nome? Eliana. O que vocês acham dessa experiência de transformar o celular em um console Xbox? Porque agora vocês podem jogar os jogos da Game Pass também no celular.
Eu particularmente acho muito prático. Eu, por exemplo, moro longe, então fazer a viagem toda, chegar até aqui, depois ir embora e ter alguma coisa para fazer nesse tempo, para mim é perfeito.
Com o celular é muito mais prático, né? Só puxar, atende, joga, faz tudo.
Com certeza. E uma última perguntinha. De Xbox Game Pass, qual o seu jogo favorito no momento?
Sem dúvida, Forza.
Excelente escolha, eu gosto muito.
Galera, eu tô aqui com a Ana e com a Letícia e a gente vai conversar um pouquinho sobre como é jogar um Xbox diretamente em uma TV sem precisar de videogame. E aí, tudo bem?
Tudo ótimo.
Desculpa atrapalhar um pouquinho a gameplay de vocês. Será que a gente pode conversar aqui rapidinho, virando ali pra câmera pra contar um pouquinho da experiência de vocês? Estou curtindo bastante a CCXP.
Maravilha, maravilhosa. Tô curtindo demais. Sim, curtimos bastante.
Já fizeram um tour aqui pelos stands da Xbox?
Já, a gente tava ali passando pelos games agora. Sim, tava no gameplay ali que é o portátil, né? Agora a gente tá aqui testando a TV.
Vocês sabem que não tem videogame, tá jogando diretamente pela TV, só precisa de uma internet. Vocês já sabiam disso?
Não.
Já tinham jogado? Nunca jogaram xCloud pro outro lugar?
Não.
Ainda não tinha jogado?
Não, primeira experiência aqui.
E aí tendo a TV que tem um hub pra você jogar pelo xCloud, já consegue jogar diretamente o jogo do Xbox. Mas então a gameplay foi fluida, rolou,
Foi, excelente.
deu pra se divertir.
Deu, bastante. Foi bem legal, o gráfico foi legal também, gostei bastante.
Maravilha, teve gráfico, teve gameplay. Muito obrigado por terem participado aqui da entrevista. Vocês também podem ir diretamente pela TV, ter no xCloud, se divertir e jogar também os jogos da Xbox. Galera, eu tô aqui com o Gustavo, que agora tá jogando um Xbox Series S aqui no meio da CCXP. E aí, Gustavo, tudo bem? Tá curtindo a CCXP?
Pô, demais, cara. Excelente. O stand do Xbox também tá fantástico, né? Muita experiência também pra poder curtir aqui.
Que massa. Já testou todas as coisas aqui? Game portátil, no Series X, na TV, já experimentou tudo?
Assim, é muita coisa pra testar. Mas já testei já, bota aí 80% da feira, já testei aqui já.
Qual foi o seu videogame da Xbox que você, assim, que tem uma memória afetiva maior?
360.
Cara, é o mesmo. É o mesmo. Eu joguei muito Minecraft e Halo Reach. A minha história com jogos online veio no 360 com Halo Reach.
Cara, eu lembro quando jogos online, quando eu comecei a jogar, foi com Gears of War, no modo Horda. Nossa, aquilo ali era absurdo. Aquilo ali era muito bom, mano.
Eu passei muitas noites jogando Gears of War 3, tinha que passar 50 hordas.
E detalhe, o Gears of War 2, até hoje, ainda é o melhor, com a história mais emocionante que tem, cara.
Que isso, polêmico, hein? Polêmico. Comenta aí.
É muito bom, cara.
Cara, o Gears 2 foi o único que eu não zerei. Preciso zerar depois dessa aqui.
Vale a pena, vale a pena. E tem um co-op também, né? Tem um co-opzinho ali com um amigo na
cara,
sala.
Não, jogar o modo multiplayer, co-op de horda. Nossa, jogo excelente.
É muito bom,
cara. Mas aí deixa nos comentários, o que vocês preferem, Halo ou Gears? Ou os dois? Eu sou do time dos dois. Um pouquinho mais do Halo. E eu gostava um pouquinho mais do Gears.
Bota no
Halo. Bota no Halo. Galera, muito obrigado por ter acompanhado essa live aqui incrível aqui no canal da Xbox. Muito obrigado por quem estava no chat. Vamos finalizando por hoje. Foi uma experiência incrível estar nesse stand maravilhoso.
Gente, a experiência 2024 foi incrível. Teve Game Pass, teve um monte de jogo, teve brinde pra tudo quanto é lado. Teve Indiana Jones, que vai chegar agora, dia 9 de dezembro. E eu espero muito que a gente possa ver você e também Xbox na CCXP 2025.
Então, muito obrigado a todo mundo que acompanhou. Muito obrigado a todo mundo que passou aqui no stand e trouxe aquele carinho especial. E espero você que não conseguiu vir na CCXP, espero que tenha conseguido sentir aquela emoção juntinho com a gente. E espero ver vocês, espero ver a Xbox também ano que vem, aqui na CCXP.
Lembrando, tudo é um Xbox.
Exatamente, tudo é um Xbox. É isso, galera.
Valeu!
This for that, this for that, this for that, this for that. Who's the black sheep? What's the black sheep? Know who I am or when I'm coming, so you sleep. Well, you heard the others, only still the lovers. Then of course, the choice is yours.
Deus.
You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this, or you can get with that. I think we're good like this, for this is where it's at. Where it's at. Come on. This or that. This or that. This or that.